Hey everyone, welcome again from thundering southern Sweden. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about history, the study of it, historicity, and biases. Because, I just ran into some guy on Facebook, one of these guys with fake names and everything, and he knows everything, and he studied some one course at some community college, and he wants to tell me everything and comment on my YouTube that, this is not the way it is, and, he's an authority. So firstly, let me say there's primary and secondary resources, right? And primary resources are written down by the people who were there, or pictures or what have you, recordings of things. So not much of that exists from pagan days. Most of it is secondary sources. You can look at what Snorri wrote as rewrote, and most of it is secondary sources. There are primary sources in there, but even within the primary sources, there is a bunch of literary techniques to memorize, right? Oral traditions is where humanity got its information from before we wrote things down. Writing things down, hey man, it's like magic, because you can preserve things exactly for the future. So I tend to try to read the secondary sources and strip the bias out of it, right? As in, there are biases in everything. If you've ever studied history, your job as a historian is to try to remove your personal bias as much as you can. Now, on this YouTube channel, I speak a lot about my opinion on things and my view on things, and I am by no means saying, when I reference historical concepts, that I am infallible and correct. These are my opinions that I've gotten through reading primary and secondary sources and trying to strip back biases. And in archaeological research, that sets us up for a lot of things. We find items, we can interpret, and we come up with theories to explain how things were done. As time, when we learn new things, or when we find a grave marker with someone with a unique genetic pattern that has influenced the area, we learn, okay, that theory's gone, we need to come up with a new paradigm, or we just evolve that theory. So that being said, there are different ways to interpret historic actions. I talk about all these books that I got here, and a bunch of other ones. Most of the books that I have read that have the information are from the last 150 odd years. And about before World War II, the turn of the century and a little before, the big job for the historians was to strip back any Christian influence or any foreign influence. It needed to be Christian. It could have been brought here with a vehicle of Christianity, but it didn't need to necessarily be Christian spirituality. It could be influence from the geographic reality of the Middle East or from Saharan Africa or what have you. So if someone reads and interprets only the sagas as that being, the only piece of information, they are disregarding all the scholars who have worked with their hands in archaeological digs that have illuminated and changed the theories. If you read just that, Odin, he's a Turkic tribe, Asian tribe, and the Asa came over. Okay, you read that in a story by a guy that wrote it when it was popular to describe everybody as the lost tribe of Israel. Cool. But there have been archaeological research that either corroborates or goes against that. And then you have scholars who have evaluated that archaeological research and come up with theories that fit more in the concrete narrative of, okay, we know this is not true, so how do we adapt? How do we continue to build upon the foundation? Very rarely do you have to throw out the foundation and come up with a new paradigm, but it's constantly being built up. And these so-called internet scholars don't like that. They often have fake names, and they often read books that are unverified personal gnosis by other people with fake names that have published things about the Viking sagas or heathenry and this and that. And they are discounting actual scholarly and archaeological work, academic work. You cannot discount that. That's the same thing as denial of science. What is wrong with these people? So this guy tells me, oh, you have a bad understanding of the ancient Norse religion. And you have a better one? How? Because you read some book about some guy whose name is Asbjorn, Gamlegudar, or some other bullshit? Get out of here, dude. You're out of your mind. I have a certificate for distinguished achievements in the field of history by the Association of American Historians. Does that mean I know everything? No, not at all. But I tend to look at the scholarly work. I try to interpret and go through things and pick out, okay, look, this fits, these 10 scholars think the same thing, so how does this adapt back? You know, people have... You cannot just read the sagas and think, or the Edda, and think, this is it, right? Because all of this was written in the hands of man, and rewritten in different historical periods. And we know from the game of telephone, everything changes. So if you got this written to you in the 1300s, but it's supposedly from the 700s, what do you think 600 years have done to the text? Just blows my mind. And you know, the internet's full of people that just want to be right, but like some dude, like, you know, it really does boggle my mind. You know, I go on Facebook, I try to provide safe areas in my groups and stuff like that, and I see other groups out there, so I try to join them, share information. And you always have one prick that thinks they know everything. And you know what? A younger me might have been that person. But no one knows everything. And if you have a different view of something, and you come together with someone who, okay, you have a literal spiritual interpretation, and you meet someone who has a scholarly atheistic interpretation, or not even atheist, because some of these people look at, oh, you're an atheist. Fuck off. Guess what you can do? Come to common ground. You never win anything by talking down to people. It's ridiculous. Within heathenry, we don't need to be divided. And these literal and fundamental interpreters, you're a source of a problem. You are a problem. You're holding us back from getting to a better understanding of things. So anyway, I'm sorry about the rant, everybody. I just needed to talk about the study of history and what it is and why it's important and what primary, secondary sources are and why we need to try to strip out personal biases whenever we can. So, also, people, please stop coming up with fake names. Legally change your name if you want to. But if you don't have the balls to go by that name every day in your life, then don't use it. I'd show you my passport, but the Swedes currently have it. So my name is my name. So, anyway, from sunny, now, southern Sweden. Sorry about the attire. I was at the gym when these retards are writing me. From sunny southern Sweden. Climb highly. Never stop learning. Never think you are better than someone else and you cannot learn from them. And enjoy your own Nordic journeys, my friends.